Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, in which we will be talking about the first 90 days, setting yourself up for success in a new role. Before we get into it, I first want to introduce myself. My name is Elise Long. I'm a talent recruiter and career coach here at Apprenticely, and I work more on our work-based learning internship side of the house. So when you see those internships on our career page, you're probably talking to me or the work-based learning manager for one of those positions. And then my co-host is Miss Jenny Sales. She is one of our senior recruiters here that works alongside our apprenticeship side of house, but she's a senior recruiter, so she wears many hats and is able to be a floater throughout our talent team. And then the rest of our team, you have Miss Katie Rains, our Reskill Arkansas manager, Nicole Parsons, our work-based learning manager, and then our director of talent, Ashley French. So first, you're probably wondering what is Apprenticely, and I'll tell you. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to building and retaining top IT talent. Some of you may know us as Arkansas Center for Data Science, but that was our foundation. That was who we were in the beginning, and the rebranding came from wanting to get into other sectors. So our foundation is in IT. And we'll always be there, and that will always kind of, in a sense, be our main focus. But we've been invited to try other sectors, such as healthcare, advanced manufacturing, advanced energy, even truck drivers, and many more job sectors we have been invited to. So it's hard to hire for a medical assistant, for example, when you're Arkansas Center for Data Science. So we are now Apprenticely. So we partner with companies throughout the state of Arkansas to fill those roles, making sure our candidates are employer ready through resume assistance and mock interviews before their resume lands on the desk of the employer. And like I said, we hire for so many different sectors. Don't think, oh, I'm not IT, this is not for me. No, if you have had an interest in HR and accounting, shoot us an email, find us on LinkedIn. We would love to connect and talk more about our program. So the title was The First 90 Days of Your Job. I call those the first impressions. And, growing up, you always said you can't redo your first impression. And that's kind of the same even in our workplace. We might have told you before that the first impression is the interview. I feel like in the job world, there are many first impressions, and the first 90 days can really solidify that. So we want to start by launching success on day one. So first off, if you are watching this webinar to prepare yourself for your new job, let's start by saying congratulations. You started a new job. But now what? How do we prepare ourselves to be the best we can be in this job? It's one thing to wow the employer or the recruiter in the interview, but now we have to almost promise on those things that we said we were capable of doing. But how do we do that? And especially for those looking to start their careers in IT or whatever field it is, maybe you have it in your head like, I'm going to be at this job for 5 years, for 10 years. But even if you're there at a job for 1 year, let's be ready to put our best foot forward and leave a lasting imprint that your employer, your supervisor, your manager, or even your colleagues can say, hey, it was a real joy to work alongside that person. So first, let's start with some tidbits. The habits, relationships, and mindset formed in the first 90 days determine the long-term career trajectory. But what does that look like? So starting out by having a good attitude about it, being excited about this job. Um, let's talk about, setting goals and networking and really, connecting with our colleagues next to us. It's one thing to come and do a job, and that's great. But sometimes it's about being personable. Um, Inviting that colleague next to you out to a ball game or to bowling. It's about, hey, I noticed that this process is run this way. What could I add to it to make it better? So we want to set that in the first 90 days. Then we want to talk about setting clear goals and expectations within the first 3 months to ensure alignment with the company's visions and role responsibilities. So remember that job description that just feels like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo is actually the blueprint to what you will be doing in this job. We want to take that very seriously. So you've been hired for, let's just say, a software developer, but what are you developing? Do you know what team you're going to be working on? Sometimes it's software developer for the e-commerce team or software developer for the website. Find out what you're doing and then set some goals along the way. And of course, through talking to supervisors and mentors, which we'll get into throughout this presentation, it'll definitely help make those expectations goals seem a little bit more clear. And then finally, networking with managers, teammates, and stakeholders early on help establish trust and collaboration. So they always say there's no I in team, and that is totally true. Networking is a joint effort on yourself, but it's one of those I help you, you help me type thing. Sometimes, they say that most jobs are all secured through networking. It's hardly ever just based on one skill set. So who do you know in this place? But who have you allowed yourself to let you be known to others? So even if you're at your job and you are like, okay, I desire to be manager or team lead eventually. Well, you got to first make yourself known to your manager and let them know, like, I desire to be this in the next few years. Then that way they can look at you. And when that opportunity becomes available, yeah, there might be an outside hire that has all the credentials um, for a lead, but they remember you and they've seen your work ethic throughout these last few years and they remember, oh, Elise Long is really great to work with. She gets all of her tasks done on time, and we've had a couple of one-on-ones together. I think she would be perfect for this job. So networking, not just to get a job, but even once you're in the job, is very key to launching success on the first day. So let's talk about those first 30 days. Um, we want to start strong, absorb, align, and adapt. So, what does absorb mean? We want to first start by a mindset expectation, um, kind of understanding what all is expected of you on your new team and with your company. Align yourself to have those key relationships and understanding your role within the company as well, and adapt. Be ready to um, just kind of be there on the side for a little bit and putting yourself in there when you see an opportunity. So let's dive into them just a little bit more. Embracing a learning mindset. So right now you're probably in that weird onboarding stage, kind of walking through. Here's our system, downloading it onto the systems and your software tools. But ask questions as you see things like, oh, why does this do this? Why does that do that? Ask questions as you're going. It'll definitely showcase that you are interested and you're probably can help you start formulating some of those goals that we'll talk about in the next few slides. We want to understand company culture and team dynamic. Understand what type of company you're on so that you can kind of blend in well. Very important to start out with that company culture and team dynamic to really build on itself. And then finally, communication. Communication is very key. I always say it's better to over communicate than to under communicate. Communicate when things might seem a little challenging or when you're just like, hey, I just don't fully understand this process right now. Stop and pause and communicate. Let's talk about building key relationships. Let's identify key stakeholders. So we're talking about the key clients, the supervisors and boss, and your team members. Understand who you're working alongside and you're working for. Addressing everyone by, I always do a miss first name. maybe on that first few days or weeks, saying their last name, and eventually someone will say, "Hey, it's okay. We are very cordial," and then dropping that miss. Eventually, I think I'm pretty much on a first name basis with my team members, but I wasn't like that when I first started. Um, and so just building that rapport is really great. Scheduling introductory meetings with colleagues. Um, Again, thinking about my first time, my first few weeks at Apprenticely, I scheduled one-on-one meetings with everyone within the team. And I'm not just talking about the talent team. I'm talking about the team with Apprenticely. We're a nonprofit, so we're able to do that. But if you find yourself at the big kahunas, the Walmarts, the JB Hunts, of course you can't do that. But maybe schedule some one-on-one time with your team members, your supervisor, even your boss, making yourself come a little bit approachable, connecting with everyone's role on the team, and see how their roles collaborate with the big idea of what this department is doing. And then finally, network with the team. We're not all just all work, no play. Let's have a little fun. Try a lunch outing with people. I think lunch is always great. We love to eat, we love food. Um, and that's really great. Or we could do a fun activity, maybe an after hours bowling or something like that. Really a good way to boost team morale and companionship. Letting them know, like, oh, like you're so cool. I could have, a few drinks with you or something like that. Really great to do that. And then finally, understanding your role and the company. So clarifying expectations with your manager, reviewing job responsibilities and success metrics, and research your company. So again, we want to absorb, align, and adapt with this. We want to understand, again, as I said in the introduction, what is this job in which I've been hired for? What is the department in what I've been hired for? What are the current projects this team might be working on? So I can, be ready to come with the right questions. So clarifying those expectations. Okay, where am I going to be in this project? Who am I going to shadow for a few weeks during my first 90 days? And what would be a great first starter project for me? So clarifying those expectations, reviewing the job responsibility. Again, going back to what's this department? You're working on the e-commerce team. So I would even on e-commerce, go on the company's website, see what all you could think about to make some additional edits or changes, and just play around with it. We call those people quality assurance analysts, but we can always be a quality assurance analyst. Like even with our own team, we're like, oh, hey, we noticed that when we register for this, it's not working. And we can just shoot our our people within our company to fix that problem. So just review those job responsibilities to kind of maybe formulate some ideas of your own. And the success metrics. Will there be a 90-day meeting at the end of your probationary period? Um, is there a performance review every year? And what are they asking for in that performance review? Are they asking for you to come up with some short-term goals, long-term goals? Are they asking that you are fully aligned and aware with the software tools that your team utilizes? Sometimes teams collaborate with other teams. Are you are you a good team player with such and such team? We want to see what are those success metrics within an organization. And then finally, research your company. What does your company do? And then how is your department kind of like that one puzzle piece to it? I didn't know much about Apprenticely when I first started, especially the word apprenticeships. Never heard that word before, but watched a few YouTube videos and finally was like, oh, and then my cousin does an apprenticeship. He doesn't live in the state, but he's doing an apprenticeship where he's doing that on the job training, actually in like electrical wiring. So to hear him talk about that process and then to come and work for this company, I was like, oh, this makes sense. I understand our company now and our value and our foundation. And it was something I could definitely get on board with. Not just I love being a recruiter and I like helping people get in jobs, but now I'm understanding my company's values and I can really get behind it. And that was very rewarding for myself. And I just get very proud to talk about, oh, we help people get apprenticeships. Because again, it's bridging that gap between a candidate and employer and saying like, hey, I'm like kind of capable. If you give me some training, I can be fully capable. So taking that shot, you don't want to miss your chance to blow. And so definitely love that about our company. But research your company, figure out who your customers are, what your product is that you're selling, can definitely help you establishing some additional goals and further thinking about expectations.
Awesome. Thank you, Elise. That was some really great information. One thing I wanted to add that I really didn't think about earlier until just now when you kind of brought it when you were talking about it. You know, most companies will volunteer their services. So maybe they do Habitat for Humanity or the food bank or things of that nature. That's another fabulous way to network with your team and to kind of find out where their values are. So just thinking about those opportunities as well. So we're going to move on to the next 31 to 60 days, adding value and building credibility. You're halfway through, or a third of the way through your first 90 days and you really want to make an impact. You've kind of met everybody and built some good relationships, have a little bit more knowledge of what you're doing. So you want to think about those early wins and quick wins to demonstrate how you can make a impact and delivering those results that will help take you to that next level in your role. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. We also really want to work on those communication styles, active listening skills, establishing check-ins. It's really important to have those one-on-ones to really kind of track where you're at, share your progress. This is what I'm doing. Am I on point? Is there an area that you can, that you want to see me grow in? Kind of do that with your manager. We think about developing your personal brand, demonstrating your capability, and showcasing that you're a team player. This is really a great place to kind of showcase some of the previous experience that you have in the past. So be thinking about, as we go back to early wins and quick wins, what can you do to demonstrate that? How do you show an impact? How can you deliver results when you're just starting? So maybe ask for projects, specific tasks. If you're a whiz at Excel and you know that the team hates Excel, then offer your areas of expertise in that area. Know your strengths and kind of, in that first 30 days, kind of tee out like whose strengths are in what area so that you can learn to build a partnership where you and your team can really deliver those strong results by working together, sharing duties based on whose strengths are over what area. Um, Delivering results while managing workload is really it can be difficult, right? You're in the beginning stages and you don't know everybody's personalities and you don't know, all of the details yet. You're just 30 days in. But this is a great place to really use those key listening skills to kind of figure out your niche in that area. Once you establish your routine, because I can't talk today, um, asking for additional workloads. If you are already doing a project that doesn't, you can take an extra step because it's an area of expertise for you, then offer to do that. Help your coworkers out, help your team members out, help your manager out. The faster your team is successful, it definitely goes to showcase your worth within that team. So making sure that you use that, brainstorm new processes to help, your team be efficient and, help your business move forward. You know, Communications, like that's such a huge part of wherever you work. Active listening to not just understand, but to really truly understand what their needs are, not just what your part of those needs are, but the whole picture. Sometimes not everyone in a department is a really good communicator. So if you are, maybe that's the time to pick up the slack with somebody else. But that follow-up. I understand you to say you're looking for me to do X, Y, and Z and deliver these results. This is where I'm at, this is what my goal is, and this is how I'm effectively going to get there. That plan and that plan of attack that showcases you've understood their mindset, you've listened to what they had to say, and you've built a process that's going to help get to the end line, achieving those goals. Um, while you're in any project, it's always good to have those check-ins. We do it on our team locally. It helps for so many, it helps builds that team spirit. It also helps going, oh, I forgot about that. Let me get that taken care of. Or, I saw that you were busy. Can I help you with this? Like that, check-in is really important to really showing your value in this role. Um, the time to really shine, showcase your personal brand. Like when you ask about Jenny sales, there's a few key things that people are always going to say about me. When I think of Elise, I I know she's going to be organized. I can count on her to do some graphics for me. She's a phenomenal communicator. Like so my team has really great branding that I've really figured out. So make sure you're demonstrating the brand that you want to see, showing up to work on time, if not a little ahead of time, being prepared for those meetings, setting the expectations and actionable items that kind of showcase your abilities and your team, that you're a team player, is super important to carry you through to the next stage of your employment. Right. Bear with me while I navigate through my slides. Um, 60 to 90 days, growth and long-term success. You know, first 90 days doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that's the most impactful part of, deciding whether you really like the place that you've chosen to work, which is important. The more you interact and the more you're focused on delivering results that help your company take off, the bigger impact you're going to make in your career. And so this is a time when you can really take off. You've understood their values. You've figured out who the key stakeholders are. You've found out who on your team can support you with growth and success, and finishing projects, and how you can impact and support them on that piece. Be strategic when you're thinking about, how you're going to build your long-term career goal. I promise you, at 23, I did not think that I was going to be a recruiter, but look at me now. I've been doing it for about 25, going on 30 years. So think about those long-term careers, even at this stage of the 90 days, because if you get in it and this is your first position, the first time that you're in an IT position or an HR position or whatever role that you're in, and you find out that this is not the right place for you, look at all of the different skills and abilities you bring to the table and maybe leverage that in your growth, in your career growth. So, um, years ago, I was a talker, but I was in aviation, and it was in a different type of world. It wasn't the recruiting world, although I still interviewed, to bring people into my plant. So it carried over into my next career that I really love. And so be thinking about those mindsets as far as career growth within your organization. Planning out, what does that look like? What are my long-term objectives with this company? Where am I going to grow, and what can I do to showcase, skills and abilities that align with my company and what their goals and needs are? Because it really is, pairing up to do both. It's not just about you and it's not just about the company, it's about both. And companies that really invest, and most companies that do apprenticeships or internships, truly are really interested in investing in their candidates. And so this is really a great opportunity to, be thinking about how you can align for further growth within your career. Now, keep in mind, it's not normal to be promoted immediately. This is a long-term strategy. This is something that takes time. I didn't become a senior recruiter overnight. I was an assistant recruiter for 2 years before I turned into a recruiter, and I was there for a really long time before I moved into other HR roles and senior recruiting. So it takes time, and just know that. And even though you may feel like you have a good knowledge and a good basis, sometimes that experience will also help you within those roles. So seeking a mentor, somebody who can help you understand that's been there before. What does it look like? How do I move forward? What steps did they take that worked? And learn from their mistakes. What steps did they take that didn't work, right? Like, don't make the same mistakes. Ask and learn. I promise you, I would much rather learn from somebody else's mistake and not have to make that mistake than to walk into those shoes and make a bad mistake myself. So, seek out those mentorships, those professional development opportunities that can really help guide you. Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? What is that growth? Um, and there are a lot of companies that have mentorships within the organization, but there, if they you can't find one that really fits your niche, then look around. There are lots of companies. There's a lot of other mentorship um, opportunities, and out there in the world, LinkedIn has some. There's a lot of different organizations that have mentorships that you can pair with somebody who's been in your shoes that can share with you how to grow your skill set. You know, Continuous learning and improvement. When you're on the job, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot that you didn't learn in school, and you're going to be like, oh my goodness, it's like, starting all over again. I learned all of this stuff in school and thought that I had all this knowledge, but now I'm learning I need to learn a whole lot more, and that's normal. So try to give yourself some credit and know that one step at a time. Identify those key things that are really important, and then um, go learn them either through free resources, take some time and read after hours, really invest in that opportunity to stay on top of those subjects and gain that skill. Being engaged and adapting to challenges is so hard. Like, I remember the first time I came to with 4 years ago with Apprenticely, and Ashley had asked me to do a webinar, and I was like, what? You want me to speak on a webinar where people can hear me? I don't do that. I only do it in person. Like, I have no problem talking to people, but talking to a computer kind of freaked me out in the beginning. So it was a challenge. So how do you overcome those challenges? You have to adapt. So what did I do? I reached out to some of my coworkers. How do you do this? How do you manage turning slides? Where are your notes? How do you remember your notes? What do you do to make sure that I'm able to do this? So I learned from them what some of the mistakes that they made and some of the challenges that they had and some things they overcame and how they adapted and to those challenges. Being flexible and listening to others, is that communication again is really super important. Ensuring long-term success, building those strong professional networks, you know, that's important. When I applied at Apprenticely, um, it was an application. However, I had a network that was able to say, "Oh, Jenny was a good worker. She showed up early every day. She stayed late when she needed to. She was on time. She got her work done when was necessary, when she needed to jump in and help others." Like, I didn't have to even say I need a reference because my work ethic actually spoke for itself. Those two people talked, and they knew, because they were in my network, that I would be a good fit. So what you do, how you do it today is going to carry forward to the future. So build those professional networks. They're going to stay with you for the long haul, not just for today, but for the long haul. When you are really mad at working at that team person and you don't really understand what's going on in their life, but they didn't do their work, and you're frustrated with them and you're having a hard time, but maybe they're having a hard time in their life. Maybe grandpa died or something happened bad, but they don't want to talk about it yet. They're just trying to get through it. Instead of having that frustration, build a relationship with them, support them, because that team member, Later down the line, maybe your manager, it may be your coworker that's going to give you the best reference. That's the person, the people that you're working with, those networks that you're building, they're going to carry with you for a lifetime. Aligning your career growth with your organization, organizational success is super important. When you are thinking about your success story, how does it align with the company you work with? Is it aligned? If not, then what can you do to really bring it together and kind of bring those two goals together to collaborate, building opportunity to be successful in life or in work? It's really important to be able to have those alignments. And there's going to be days when it's aligned with your career goals, and sometimes it might be aligned with their career goals and their organizational success. But I promise you, it will always win out in the end for both of you if you align it together. Um, think about that continued education too. And I don't mean education like you always have to go pick up a book and learn, or um, go to college, or I mean, nothing wrong with reading, nothing wrong with going to college. I think those are all great things, but also learning from your team and learning from one another is super important. I rely on my team for areas that I'm not strong in, and they rely on me for things that I'm not strong in. So, aligning those skills and abilities to really help you be successful is super important. So, when you think about, I've been there 90 days, and, am looking forward to the next step of my career. How do I do that? A couple of things that Apprenticely can do to help. We um, we have a lot of webinars on our YouTube page. So there's a lot of free content out there, from templates on resumes, templates on, like, here's my career. I'm in this role right now. Let's say you're an IT journalist. Well, I don't always want to be an IT journalist. Sometimes, someday I want to be in cybersecurity. How do I get there? I promise you don't just go to school and become in cybersecurity. It's a pathway. And if you think about cybersecurity and as a whole, what area in cybersecurity do you want to be in? You want to be on the blue team, on the red team? Do you want to be a SOC analyst? Like, what role within cybersecurity? There's a lot of talk about that being the up and coming career, and they're right. But you have to work your way up. These people in cybersecurity are experts in their field. And how do you get that? You work through those first 90 days and you build your career path with your network, your skills and ability, you continue learning. Those things will help you get there. Apprenticely also has a fabulous reskill program that has some free Google Coursera classes on it. We offer candidate coaching. We're here to help you if you need help with your career path. Friends and family of yours that are looking, please feel free to share about Apprenticely and how we can support you along that way. Also, let's say you are currently working for a company, and the company has a career path mapped out for you, and you're like, yes, I'm definitely moving towards cybersecurity, and I'm an IT journalist. I'm in a level one help desk role right now. I want to get to that next level. Can I do it through an apprenticeship? If that company is interested, absolutely, we can help you, help your company, help you through an apprenticeship. But there's lots of different ways and opportunities to help support you. Always continue to learn and grow, demonstrating that willingness and dedication to professional growth. Growth mindset is huge. Keeping that in mind and moving forward in that. Awesome. Well, with that being said, we're at the end of our presentation. And so I want to take time to say thank you for joining us today. And Elise, thank you for sharing your tips and tricks to really helping our candidates through their first 90 days building their career path.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, too. All right. Well,
Didn't
thank you guys for joining. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach us on our uh, email addresses, our website. And again, we're Apprenticely on all social media platforms. So Looking forward to connecting with you guys and telling you about how Apprenticely does work for us. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.